We're off to the movies. DC public school students are dreaming big after a special screening of the film Hidden Figures.
And politics takes a backseat to volleyball on Capitol Hill.
All that plus the top stories from the News Rundown starts now on We Are Washington. Welcome to We Are Washington. Hidden Figures tells the story of three brilliant African-American women working to break barriers at NASA. The movie won critical praise and Oscar nominations, but just as importantly, its impact is being felt among young people right here in Washington, D.C. Coming up, we'll bring you that story.
And for 3 days, volleyball overtook politics as the main sport on Capitol Hill. We'll take you inside the Capitol Hill Volleyball Classic. But before we get to all of that, here's the News Rundown.
After more than a decade in the making, construction on DC United's new stadium is officially underway. Mayor Muriel Bowser, city officials, fans, and players celebrated the groundbreaking on the 20,000-seat capacity Audi Field at Buzzard Point in Southwest Washington.
We're about to get a brand new stadium here in DC, so DC United can be united in DC. That's a key point that the mayor made. DC United is staying right here in our nation's capital, the world's greatest city.
We wanted to make sure we had the best deal for the people of Washington. So when I came anywhere in the community, I could tell them we're investing in a part of our city that needs the investment, that's going to create jobs, that is going to make sure it pays good wages and give the people of Washington, D.C. a better shot at participating in our prosperity.
The $300 million venue is scheduled to open in June 2018. Eastern Market is now a D.C. Main Street.
Mayor Bowser launched the Neighborhood Revitalization Program, designating Eastern Market as the newest Main Street in the district. The initiative is a program of the Department of Small and Local Business Development and seeks to enhance communities by retaining and recruiting businesses, improving commercial properties and streetscapes, and attracting consumers.
What it ends up doing, of course, is introducing this commercial corridor and all these businesses to thousands upon thousands of people, but it really helps create a vision for what that corridor looks like. Well, my expectation is that the Eastern Market Main Street is going to be doing the exact same type of work. How do we help make sure that we're not only advocating for and fighting for all of our small businesses, helping protect them, helping protect our retail businesses so that we always have a strong mix of the type of businesses that we want, but how are we helping lay out a vision?
There are 12 areas designated as Main Streets in D.C., including 3 that are considered models of the program nationally. Those Main Streets are in Barracks Row, H Street Northeast, and Shaw. Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton and Delaware Senator Tom Carper introduced a formal petition for D.C. statehood in Congress. The Washington, D.C. Admissions Act reflects the statehood effort of the New Columbia Statehood Commission to make D.C. the 51st state. Mayor Muriel Bowser calls the bill a bold path forward for statehood.
While a lot of things happen on November the 8th, one thing that is very special to us is 85% of Washingtonians came out to say, we see our new streamlined Constitution, the boundaries for our state, and we agree to a representative government.
Boards and commissions appointees were officially sworn in by Mayor Bowser.
Congratulations, Commissioners, on your appointments. Congratulations.
The mayor makes appointments to 169 different boards, task forces, and commissions. District boards and commissions are designed to help shape and advise the city's critical decisions and services.
Encouraging college women to run for office is the goal of Elect Her, a program by a nonprofit called Running Start. The day-long workshop was held at George Washington University. Elect Her holds similar events at colleges and universities throughout the country to encourage young women to run for student government and other campus offices.
Time to celebrate the success of the 62nd annual DC One Fund campaign. The district government's workplace giving program, in partnership with the United Way, reached its goal of raising $1 million for district charities. Mayor Bowser thanked employees for their generosity and hard work at an awards ceremony. The Department of Corrections was the big winner at the event, receiving the award for most dollars raised by any agency in the D.C. government.
Your contributions help many of our children who are struggling, who have needs that are beyond sometimes what their parents and their families can provide. You're helping our seniors deal with things as they're aging, and you're bringing that to bear. You're helping our homeless understand that there are opportunities and that there is indeed hope.
The challenge of modernizing the MLK Library is the timely subject of a new documentary called A Legacy of Mies and King. The documentary premiered at the library as part of the events celebrating the closing of the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Library.
The philosophy around the whole renovation, which was make the building a lot more welcoming, make it much more legible, make it more inviting, make it so that when somebody comes in here, they're not looking to leave as fast as humanly possible.
The Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Library, DC's Central Library, is now closed for renovations. The building will undergo a $208 million modernization and is scheduled to reopen in 2020. The new and improved branch will have a large auditorium, ground-level cafe, and a rooftop event space, just to name a few of the features. So that's a long period of time to be closed, but they are making some pretty big modernizations, renovations to the library, so it all makes sense that it would be, right?
And you think about it, I imagine that library was probably constructed in the 60s. So you think it's probably about time
Sure.
for a big renovation.
But it's going to be closed, but there's going to be a couple of events there, right? There's some things
there
going on.
actually are a few special events. One of them, in fact, the Morehouse College is, their Glee Club is performing. It's one of the oldest all-male collegiate Glee clubs. So they'll be at part of a special event at MLK Junior Library. But,
That'll be nice,
but for the most part, it is closed.
And, you know, I got a chance to see some of the renderings that they're doing for what's going to be happening there and some of the things that are going to be coming up. And there are some really nice spaces. And I think one of the things that they mentioned that's a really, really cool thing is that they want to take the library and make it less transactional. You know, you go, you get out a book, you check out a book, you bring it back, and turn it more into a what they called a transitional or interactive space where you're learning from other people. You're going to events, discussions, things like this, and they want to create a space that's going to be representative of that
and probably promote
feel
that.
way.
Yeah, and I hope they still have a few private spaces.
I'm sure they
I
will.
still like that old school, go into the library, take your little book and hide away. So.
That's still the part of the library people like, right? But of course, you know, they're trying to make it more open to at the same time. So we've talked about books, but next we're going to be talking about the movies. We're taking a trip to the movies, showing you how the film Hidden Figures is having a big impact on some DC public school students here in the district. It's an entertaining movie with an important message about breaking down barriers and dreaming big.
Hidden Figures is the previously untold story of three brilliant African-American women who served as the brains behind one of NASA's greatest triumphs. The movie is set in the early 60s, but its message is just as meaningful for today's audiences. Take a look at the impact Hidden Figures had on DCPS middle school students.
A trip to the movie theater. For some, it's about the snacks. For others, a chance to suspend disbelief and immerse yourself into the story playing out on the big screen. For DC public school students attending today's special matinee, there's no need to suspend disbelief because the story they're about to see is true and hopefully one that impacts how they think about the future.
Have you never seen a mind like the one your daughter has? You have to see what she becomes.
They're seeing the movie Hidden Figures, a 20th Century Fox film gripping the attention of critics and theatergoers across the country.
It's a really great opportunity for the students to get exposed to careers, especially to see women in the STEM fields. And increasingly at DCPS, this is the type of programming that we're trying to do.
Hidden Figures is a story of three African-American women working at NASA during the 1960s, during the historic launch of astronaut John Glenn into outer space. In the process, Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson earned their spot in history, overcoming the social barriers of their time and becoming trailblazers for civil rights.
I thought it was very inspiring because a lot of people think that just because you're a girl or just because you're black, that you can't do what you want to do or you can't be as good as them.
It goes over so many social problems that we have and we still have today, like racism, sexism.
They were dealing with being both black and woman in a time where segregation and sexism were pretty serious. And they actually got over that, which inspired me.
Along with its theme of equality, Hidden Figures also shows how studying math, science, and engineering, especially for young women, can lead to brighter futures.
I want to study chemistry and biology. I'm not going to let anything get in my way, because if I want to do something, I can put my mind to it and I'm going to do it.
When we really harness our students' energies about what they want to be when they grow up, they are more engaged in their middle school academic experiences, and all of a sudden middle school becomes really relevant.
The lessons the students are seeing in action on the movie screen are lending teachers a hand in connecting the textbook to real life.
Every day there's a question, when are we going to use this? And, you know, in that one scene, Catherine Goebel recalled some math formula, some archaic math formula that she even forgot she knew, so I'll try to use that to my benefit.
Along with the classroom lessons, it's helping teachers illustrate why it's important to never give up.
Understanding that we all have setbacks, and when you get to a point and you feel like you've reached a block and you can't get past it, you have to go around it, you have to climb over it, you have to try harder.
I think the message of perseverance is really important, because sometimes trailblazing isn't going to be the first that has ever happened. Sometimes it's the first for your family, the first for your high school, first for your community. And so to see that and just be re-inspired by that is just one more message to help our students get there.
If students learn best when they're enjoying their lessons, this trip to the movies is receiving high marks.
My favorite part was when John Glenn said that he wanted Catherine to approve the calculation.
Well, something I learned from this movie is that if you need something, you gotta fight for it in order to get it.
I like the part when he knocked down the sign in the bathroom, because then they let me know that he didn't care about race, he just cared about getting his work done.
Whether these DCPS middle school students pursue a career in math and science or travel down another path, experiencing the movie Hidden Figures will no doubt aid in learning how to persevere and launch their futures.
So it was fun being there, and you could tell that the students who were there, it was a big day for them. You know, first of all, field trip out to the movies for a middle school student.
That's always good. You get out of the school.
I don't know if there's a better kind of field trip if you're in middle school, right? So there was that, and then the schools that were there were representative of schools that would be focused on things like science and technology
STEM,
and math. Yes.
Emphasis on,
Absolutely, engineering. So they were excited about seeing how you could apply those things too, because one thing that I talked about with a lot of the kids was taking the things that you learn in your books and your lessons at school, and how you use them in real life.
Right.
And that made them really excited. So it was fun to watch them sort of see where their school, where their education could take them, and to also see how that kind of played out in the 60s in that time period, because just like the movie, it has so many different elements to it. Equality, talking about women and learning and applying math, science, technology.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really fun to see them have that light go off and be able to have that lesson that they took home from that day.
And so rare to be able to take kids to a big Hollywood movie and feel so good about the message and feel like you're coming out of the movie, you know, inspired. And I took my daughter to the movie, and I was very excited for her. And I was like, see how great math is?
Yeah, and that was the fun part too. I got to be in the theater with them when they were watching. There was a lot of oohs and ahs and gasps, things like that. Which it's not really too much of an action movie, but to them it kind of felt like it might have been. So it was fun to
much
take
more, many more movies like that in Hollywood. And coming up, we'll look at a volleyball tournament that's growing as fast as the popularity of the sport. Don't go away.
It started as a simple idea, but the Capitol Hill Volleyball Classic quickly took off and now attracts thousands of players and their families from all around the country. Here's a look at the three-day tournament that's enjoying tremendous success and bringing volleyball in Washington to a whole new level.
It's a three-day tournament that attracts over 950 teams from around the country, right to the heart of D.C.
This tournament has been awesome. It's a lot of fun just to see the city and have all this great competition here at the same time.
The Mizuno Capitol Hill Volleyball Classic has enjoyed tremendous growth over the last decade, and each year fills the Walter E. Washington Convention Center with thousands of players and their families, with an economic impact estimated at $21 million. But back in 2007, it was simply a husband and wife dedicated to bringing a volleyball tournament to the district.
So my husband's the head coach at American University. He's been there for 28 seasons, and I was his assistant coach early on. I had played myself, so we'd been in volleyball since we were teenagers, and had played collegiately, and had kind of seen the trend in this country where these tournaments were moving to convention centers.
One of the main goals of the tournament is providing local colleges and players a first-class recruiting opportunity.
Everybody benefits. Georgetown benefits, GW, Maryland, Howard, all these different schools in the area. These kids come in to see DC, they can go on a recruiting visit, and they can see the city. They can do all the monuments, they can do the Smithsonian's, they can see all these different things because they really only play half the day, and then the other half of the day they're off.
Emily Ryan is among the athletes who realized her dream of playing college volleyball at UCLA.
It's always been a dream school. I always wanted to play volleyball, and I wanted to go to the West Coast, get away from home. Love my family and all, but I mean, it's a great school.
But even for the athletes who won't go on to play in college, the benefits of the sport last a lifetime.
There's nothing more that these parents want their kids to be doing on a weekend in February than here in a safe, healthy environment, going home exhausted, having to wake up early and be with their team, have the responsibilities, listen to their coach, all these things are inherent in the sport.
It's just always a plus to have like 10 other sisters pretty much, because we chose this this year for our junior year. We kind of given up a little bit of a social life, but we all have each other, and it's just so nice to have other goal-oriented girls who are really driven about volleyball, school, and we can really rely on each other for a lot of different things.
With so much success and a convention center filled to capacity, what does the future hold for the Capitol Hill Volleyball Classic?
We want to expand, we want to grow, we want this to stay in the city. We want to bring international teams here. We have a strong desire. This is an international city. We want international teams here. This is an international sport.
I had so much fun at that tournament, but I did want to give you a chance to hear from the second half of that husband and wife team, and that's Barry Goldberg, and he is the head coach of the women's volleyball team at American University. Here's what he had to say about the whole recruiting process.
The physical attributes are certainly important, the personality of how they're getting together and understanding their teammates. All this goes together in making the choices and who really likes you and who you really like personally.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. So when the player here, after this tournament's over, says, hey, I want to come up to American University to visit to talk about coming to school there, that's where a lot of this real, yes, to me, it's a personal game.
Now, I'm not a volleyball recruiter. I'll say that first. But one thing I did notice that I think any recruiter would probably be interested in when I watched that was the intensity that they all played with. I mean, I was watching them go back and forth on any of those courts. There were girls who were going to try to hit the ball over the net, laying out on the floor, getting back up and running back to the net to try to hit the ball again. It was incredible the amount of intensity that they were playing with.
They were going all out, and I think that's definitely one of the main things that recruiters do look for. And Barry actually mentioned that was just determination.
Oh, really?
So that's a good hint for all of you athletes out there who are looking for those college scholarships. I think they probably know that already, but it's
keep the intensity level up, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's all the time we have for now, but we do have time for one last thing.
I do have one last thing today.
You're making me nervous. It's like the Oscars.
It's the correct envelope.
Okay.
It's the correct
Good.
one. Now, I want to go back to talk about Hidden Figures, the movie screening with the DCPS students that we went to. An interesting fact about the movie. If you haven't seen the movie yet, which I don't know why you wouldn't have seen the movie by now.
Yeah, you should have seen it by now.
I'm going to discuss one scene in the movie here. It's not pivotal, but it's still something. So here we go. So there's a part of the movie where John Glenn, they're getting ready to launch John Glenn into space on the first outer space mission. A lot of drama, a lot of intensity behind it. And at the very last minute, there's uncertainty, and they want to make sure that they have the right numbers, so they call on none other than Katherine Johnson, who knows in the movie.
I remember
to
this scene.
Make sure that the numbers are right because we trust her, of course.
He requests her.
Now, the little trivia fact, imdb.com has all the trivia from the movie. They said this actually did happen when they did the space launch, but the difference is, I guess the difference is that it didn't happen last minute like that. He actually called and requested her to do it weeks in advance.
Oh, okay.
So
well, that makes sense. Well, Holly, you know, it's a 2-hour movie. You've got to, you know.
a little bit of movie-making drama, right? You have to make
Exactly.
it interesting, and it wouldn't be so interesting if you had to call weeks in advance to ask, right? So that is all the time that we have for today, but we do want to remind you that if you want to see any of our episodes on demand, you can go to our YouTube page and search Entertain DC, see our program or any of the other programs we have on DCN.
Yeah, make sure to check us out. See you next time.